Hello, everyone. This is your host, Susan Rosen, and my guest today is Dr. Anshul Gupta. I think I got that right. Um, and he is going to talk to us about thyroid issues and Hashimoto's disease in particular. And I'm going to give it over to Anshul. I hope that's okay if we use your first name. And to tell us a little bit more about himself and how he ended up in this area of medicine. So welcome,
Absolutely,
Anshul,
Susan.
and thank you for being here. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, Susan, thank you so much for having me on the show. It's a pleasure. The kind of work you're doing is amazing. And it was an interesting story to hear, before we started recording it, that how this whole podcast thing originated. So I'm sure, the listeners are enjoying the ride with you.
Mm,
So
thank
for
you.
my background, actually, I'm a family medicine physician. So that's my training. And after that, I actually got certified into functional medicine and did a fellowship into integrative medicine, and then got an opportunity to work at the Cleveland Clinic Functional Medicine Department
Wow.
to do more research into functional medicine, develop certain protocols. That's where I actually found my passion into thyroid and Hashimoto's disease and developed a protocol to kind of help people out.
Mm-hmm.
And implemented that protocol into several Hashimoto's and thyroid patients and got great results. Their
Oh,
quality of life improved significantly, symptoms got better, their thyroid antibodies were lowered,
mm,
their thyroid numbers got better. So that prompted me to write a book, on reversing Hashimoto's, where
uh-huh.
people can follow certain steps, mainly natural steps of lifestyle and supplements and things, and help them to understand why they're not feeling better. Because the current research suggests that more than 60 to 70% of people who have Hashimoto's or thyroid disorder and are taking medicine still continue to suffer from symptoms. So that's a big
Oh,
number that we're dealing with. And obviously, most of
yeah.
those people have approached their doctors, and their doctors have told them, well, nothing is wrong with you. You're taking the medicine, everything looks great. So just go home, don't stress out too much. So this
And
book
we
is
and we
all
know
about
how
those
that
people.
how much that helps, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Right. Because
Yeah.
actually, I've been in the similar boat as mine.
Okay.
I went through these things even though I'm a traditionally trained physician, and that
Uh-huh.
actually propelled me into this field. So my actually health journey took a downward turn just couple of years into my family medicine practice. I was
Oh,
too
wow.
busy taking care of too many patients, and suddenly a lot
Yeah.
of health issues started happening. I started gaining weight even though I did not change anything in my lifestyle.
Huh.
I was very tired to the point that I had to take a nap during my lunch hour. At the end
Wow.
of the day, I was so brain foggy that I could not assimilate any new information. And plus, I was having this horrible stomach pain. I would
Mm.
have the stomach pain, in the middle of my stomach. It will just hit me in random times. Didn't knew what was happening. I could not figure out any food. There was no time pattern to it. I could not figure out what was going on with it. I thought it was an acid reflux thing, so I started taking medications for it, but nothing got better.
Mm.
Then after doing that for a few months, I thought maybe I'm not a smart doctor. I need to take help from these smart specialists. So I started approaching specialist after specialist. You
Uh-huh.
know, GI specialists, allergy
Yeah.
specialists. They did tons of testing, endoscopies, blood
Yeah.
work, ultrasounds, all those things. Everything was normal. And they had no idea what was going on with me. They added even more medications, thinking that, okay, well,
Oh
let's try this,
no.
let's try that. And still, I was not getting better.
Yeah.
And I was only 32 years of age at the time. And I had
Oh my
no
God.
idea how am I going to live rest of my life with this
Right.
way, randomly under the fear that my health is not going to get better and I'm going to get the stomach pain again.
Yeah.
So that's where actually I found functional medicine. Somebody suggested, well, people who don't find answers go to functional medicine, find answers. So I
Yep.
said, okay, well,
Yep.
let me look into this thing. So I started looking. That's where I got certified into it. Then I implemented those protocols into my own life, where I found the root cause of my problems, made a
Uh-huh.
stepwise protocol of addressing the lifestyle, taking certain supplements, and saw phenomenal results. Within 1 month, my stomach pain was gone. Within 6 months, I was off all medications. I already
Wow.
lost 40 pounds, and
Wow.
I had so much mental clarity and so much energy in my life
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
I even participated in a 5K rugged maniac.
Oh my God.
So my life was totally different than what it was before. And just with a few changes in my life, that was amazing. So that's where I said, okay, well, I need to share this with people because this is powerful. This is
Yeah.
powerful stuff. People should be knowing about it. People should be given
Mm-hmm.
hope that they can get better.
Yep.
So that
Yep.
was my journey into functional medicine and thyroid and Hashimoto's.
Okay. Okay. So you didn't actually have the Hashimoto's.
But
You just ended up getting and more interested in it the more you looked into what was going on with yourself. Is that?
no, I did actually get
Oh, you did.
thyroiditis. Yeah, I did get thyroiditis at
Oh,
a point of time where a thyroid was
okay.
thyroid numbers are totally off. But luckily,
Okay.
because like I kind of by the time I knew what was going on with me and how to kind
Uh-huh.
of get hold of it at a very early
Okay.
stage. So within a few weeks, everything became normal by my kind of
Uh,
protocols and things. I did not have to go on
okay.
medications. And that was around 3 to 4 years ago, and I'm still okay.
Mm, okay. Okay. Yeah. So you caught it early enough before it actually developed.
Absolutely.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah. So why, well, not what are some of the symptoms, I guess, that people can watch out for on Hashimoto's and other thyroid type of issues? I think thyroid's one of those areas that a lot of people are like, oh, thyroid, but nobody knows what it is.
Agreed with that, and then there are different kind of, first of all, people don't know the difference between low thyroid or hypothyroid and Hashimoto's disease.
Yeah.
So that's where I would like to start kind of with that
Uh-huh.
conversation so people have an
Uh-huh.
understanding because a lot of people don't
Yeah.
even know Hashimoto's disease exists.
Yeah.
So for
Yeah.
those people, Hashimoto's disease is an autoimmune condition where your thyroid gland is being destroyed by these antibodies which are being produced by your own body. And these antibodies
Ah.
starts a very slow destruction of your thyroid gland. Now, it can take
Mhm.
weeks, months to years sometimes to destroy the thyroid gland to the point that it is not able to keep up with the thyroid hormone production, that your body
Wow.
needs. And
Mhm.
then you get diagnosed with hypothyroidism, which is basically low thyroid that your body is not able to produce enough thyroid hormone. So that's the
Okay.
difference between low thyroid and Hashimoto's, that the reason of your low thyroid can be multiple. And the number one reason currently is Hashimoto's disease. Hashimoto's disease is the
Ah.
most common autoimmune condition present worldwide right now. And around
Whoa.
80 to 90% of people who have an hypothyroid condition or low thyroid condition, the reason is Hashimoto's. But unfortunately, a lot of
Oh,
people don't
wow.
know about it because they're not doing proper testing for it.
Yeah. Yeah. So just out of curiosity, is it that it's not really on most doctors' radar screen? I mean, is it not something that they think of or that they even test for?
So it's not about being on the radar, it's about
Okay.
offering treatment for Hashimoto's disease. The conventional
Okay.
way of looking at thyroid is that, they only have current medications to either give you thyroid hormone or basically suppress your thyroid hormone. They
Okay.
do not have medicine available for Hashimoto's disease to help with the autoimmune process. So that's
Ah,
the reason, even if they do check for Hashimoto's disease, then their protocol doesn't change because they are only
mhm.
focused to wait for your thyroid gland to be destroyed. And once your thyroid gland is destroyed and cannot produce enough thyroid hormone, then
Uh,
they can come in and give you external thyroid hormone, but they cannot
yeah.
stop the destruction of the thyroid gland. That is kind of horrifying
Wow.
story for me to hear. When I heard it for the first time, I was like, really? That's actually true. This thyroid medicine that people are
Wow.
on, not doing anything to stop the destruction. It is basically just putting a patch.
Yeah. 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 It's just filling in, right?
Exactly.
Wow. Wow. That's I don't know. I can't get my head around that. I mean, to have a disease, even have got a name for it, and most doctors have no idea what the hell to do about it is
Because our treatment
scary.
protocols are, yeah, it's scary and it's sad. Like more than
Yeah.
being scary, it's a sad situation because a lot of people, as I said, are dealing. It's kind of an epidemic currently with, almost every third or fourth person is having a thyroid disorder, especially females, middle-aged females from
Yeah.
30 to 65 years of age, right? And
Uh-huh.
all of these females are kind of screaming for help because they all have these symptoms, of Hashimoto's and thyroid, but they don't know what to do with them. Most of these females struggle with weight, right? Either they have gained a
Yep.
lot of weight or not able to lose weight. They are
Yep.
always tired or always fatigued, that they cannot have enough energy to do anything that they would like to do. They
Mm-hmm.
have this brain fog feeling that, okay, well, they cannot concentrate or they cannot remember things or they are not with it. That's a word that a lot of females will use, is that I don't feel I'm with it all the time. Just I just feel
Mm-hmm.
that my mental capacity could be better. A lot of them are having hair issues, hair fall or hair thinning. Their skin doesn't look the great as that it looked before. They have a lot of gut issues, constipation, diarrhea, bloating, stomach cramping, even menstrual issues. So a whole bunch of symptoms are associated with Hashimoto's and thyroid. And if you will take a survey, almost 90% of middle-aged females will have one or the other symptom that are
Huh.
mentioned right now in their
Yeah.
life. So this is the extent of the disease which is ongoing, and sometimes it takes years for blood work to catch up, with Hashimoto's
Okay.
or with thyroid disorder.
Uh-huh.
And people can suffer for years before they show up on the blood work.
Huh.
And the sad part is that finally, after several years, when it is shown up on the blood work, there is a hope that after getting on the medicine, they are going to get better. And they get into this horror feeling that even after being on the medicine, nothing has improved. So that's
Wow.
where functional medicine, like is amazing
Uh-huh.
because we go to
Yeah.
the root cause of the problem and then work on an inside out approach, helping
Mm-hmm.
people to safeguard their thyroid gland, helping people to reduce inflammation, helping people to lower these antibody levels, and
Mm-hmm.
then rejuvenate their body so they can see an improvement in all of these symptoms and get the quality of life that they deserve.
Oh
you
yeah.
know Society have kind of blamed females for so many things, like, oh well, you
You
are a
think?
mom, that you're stressed out, you just had kids, so obviously you're going to be tired. Oh, you're taking care of your parents, that's the reason you cannot focus on your health, that's the reason you're feeling bad. Oh, you
Mm-hmm.
just stress about everything, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
reason you have these symptoms. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's kind of a little bit unfair to females, is that like, first of all, we are given so many responsibility to them, but we
Right.
are not also realizing there is something ongoing with them with their health
Mm-hmm.
underneath, that needs attention, that needs some care and
Yeah.
help.
Yeah. So is it also that a lot of doctors just don't have the knowledge to say, hey, this is fitting this particular picture of Hashimoto's or a thyroid issue, or you know, um, is a lot of it just education too?
So it's the way we approach diseases. So conventional medicine right now is having a very tough time with chronic diseases, especially autoimmune diseases. They do
Mm,
not know how to manage them.
yeah.
So it actually goes with history. So the first time conventional medicine came into picture was decades ago. And at that time, the number one reason of people dying was infectious diseases, right?
Okay.
Either you got cholera, either you got tuberculosis, either you got an infection somewhere in your body, and that's the reason you died, right? And
Right.
that's where suddenly we found these amazing antibiotics which can do wonders, right? So now if you look at infectious diseases are what we call is that they have one disease and there is one cause behind it. Because
Mm-hmm.
of one bacteria, you get a disease. So if you take care of that bacteria, you treat it, everything is okay, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that
Mm-hmm.
was the basis of infectious disease, or that's the basis of the modern medicine. Now, these autoimmune diseases have a total different physiology. We are yet to find one particular cause of autoimmune diseases. Nobody knows why these autoimmune disease happens. What we only know with research is that it's an interplay between your genes and the environment around you. And
Hmm.
this environment is not yet defined completely, but through my research, there is this environment can be anything. This can be a food, this can be infections, this can be toxins, this can be like, pollutions, like this can be like, all the stress that we got exposed to, right? So whole bunch of
Hmm.
things constitute our environment. And all of these things combined together lead to autoimmune diseases. And that's where the conventional medicine fails, because this model doesn't fit according to their understanding. So they just get confused of what they should be doing to kind of address this humongous problem. Because there is no
Hmm.
one medicine that can address all of these issues, all of these environmental
Yeah.
factors, so that they cannot do anything about it. So that's a big need at this point of time, of understanding autoimmune diseases. And obviously research is happening, but we just don't know how long it's going to take and how long it's going to make those protocols, especially in
Hmm.
thyroid diseases or Hashimoto's. Like we still are at very early stages in the research of what can be done to
Oh,
actually
wow.
reverse the disease or get help for these people who are still suffering.
Oh, yeah. No, it sounds like it. So is it only women, or is it, is there a small percentage of men that get it as well? How does that work?
So traditionally, it was only females who were getting affected. But now, actually, in the last decade, we are seeing more and more men also being affected with Hashimoto's disease,
Ah.
and even children. Like
Oh
I'm
my
so
God.
amazed that every month or every few weeks, every some mom, is approaching me that, my daughter or my son is being diagnosed with Hashimoto's disease
Oh my
and I
God.
need help. So even
Yeah.
kids are being diagnosed with this now.
And I'm not gonna hold you to this, but do you have any kind of a guess for why that's happening? Or is it just because there's more knowledge to actually say, oh yeah, that's Hashimoto's, and not, go off on some other disease that they think it is?
Yeah, no, and that's what everybody thinks, that it might be just we have better understanding and we are checking more, but that is not correct. The
Okay.
incidence of disease has actually increased because the reason is
Wow.
our environment is changing rapidly, right? The amount of
Okay.
processed
Okay.
food we are eating, the amount of processed sugar we are
Yeah.
eating, the amount of toxins present in our environment, the amount of stress that we have, the amount of radiation exposures through we have
Mm.
through these TV screens, through our cell phones, right? So our
Right.
environment has changed tremendously in the last 40 to 50 years. It's totally different than what it used to be, and
Mm-hmm.
our body cannot keep up, right? Body needs to
Yeah.
adapt to any change which is happening, and it takes time. Adaptation takes
Mm-hmm.
years, like sometimes millions of years. And our
Mm.
environment, because of our intervention, we have changed it in just 40 to 50 years. So our body is not able to adapt to the new environment, and
Mm.
that's the reason we are seeing an increased incidence of all of these autoimmune conditions, including Hashimoto's and thyroid.
Wow. Interesting. Is it is a lot of it too that just stress
Stress
out
definitely
there?
is a very big component. Yes. So anytime,
Yeah.
a patient comes to me to work with me, I tell them, okay, well, just think about when you got started with Hashimoto's disease, when you
Mm-hmm.
start having these symptoms, did something happen in your life couple
Mm.
of years before that? And invariably they will say, oh yes, like that was a stressful moment. My relationship was stressful, or I was juggling between my job and taking care of my kids, or I
Mm-hmm.
just had a baby. Even post delivery we are seeing it, right? Because the
Yeah.
pregnancy itself is a huge stressor for
Oh my
females,
God.
right?
Yeah.
Right. So any kind of stressor, whether it is emotional, physical, mental, spiritual, definitely can trigger Hashimoto's disease. And obviously our environment today
Right.
is filled with stress, right? We are just in this age that
Oh my
we
God.
just want to
Yeah.
achieve more. We are running all the time, like there is nobody has any time left to kind of
The
even
the
sit and talk.
news,
Oh,
just the
yes.
news. I mean, we don't even have to go there as far as, politics and all of that, but my God, it's like 24/7.
Hmm.
It's
There
just
is nothing positive anybody talks about, right, on the news channels anymore.
no.
I stopped watching them. I was like, tell me something good. I'm sure there is something good happening in this world. It's not
Yeah.
everything can be negative, right?
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, just, even the last month or two, just the weather
Right.
everywhere and all these different fires and floods and storms, and I mean, it's just, I personally don't remember it being quite so widespread,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Oh, absolutely. It's just,
then,
and it's crazy everywhere, whether you go to
oh
East Coast,
yeah,
West
oh
Coast,
yeah,
South, or North, anywhere
no,
you
no,
go, it's just basically
Canada,
everywhere. You're right.
Canada, Hawaii, there's the other one over in Asia somewhere that's going on, some big fire or something, I think, isn't there?
Mm-hmm.
And floods. And it's like you can't get away from it. Um, it's really scary. I just don't remember. Well, there weren't as many people on the planet when I was growing up, but that's part of the problem. Um, but but anyways, I don't remember, and I sound like I remind myself of my mother, because my mother used to, she was the same thing. She was like, I don't remember it being this bad, and that was like 20 years ago. So I guess it's just human beings.
Absolutely. Yes. We are
So
intervening in
yeah,
each and everything of the nature. So obviously that comes at a cost.
yeah, yeah. No, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Wow. So what, excuse me, what, I know you said you had a protocol that you've developed and all of that. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that so people can have some some idea, some reference point?
Absolutely. So the protocol is very simple. There are three steps into it. And the very first step is identifying the root cause, right? So how I kind of explained that, Hashimoto's disease is multifactorial. There are several environmental factors which are coming together and leading to this Hashimoto's disease. So it's very
Okay.
important to figure out what are those root factors playing a role in each and every individual. So that's the very first step. So in that, obviously, that's very kind of new concept, and a lot of people are totally like lost into what that might look like. So in that's what I talk about in the book. There is a
Hmm.
questionnaire that people can ask. Those questions to
Okay.
themselves that might give them a road. But bottom
Hmm.
line is that there are five major categories of root causes. So these five major categories, the first of them is what we call as food sensitivities. So more and more people are getting more sensitive to food. And what
Hmm.
this food sensitivity does is that it creates, havoc on your gut, something called leaky gut. And that
Hmm.
ultimately leads to Hashimoto's disease. Now, this food sensitivity is very different than food allergies. And a lot of people, again, are not aware of it. Food allergies, like, let's say, the most common food allergy is peanuts. So you eat peanuts, you suddenly blow up like a balloon, you have difficulty breathing, you land up in the emergency room, right? Now, food sensitivity is like, you eat gluten. Your body says, hey, gluten, I don't hate you, but I don't like you to be here. So I'm going to produce very small amount of these chemical antibodies against you. Now, again, very
Ah.
small of antibodies doesn't give you immediate reaction or a whole big reaction in your body. So very difficult for you to note any changes. But these antibodies start a very slow destruction in your gut and causes leaky
Okay.
gut and also thyroid destruction. So this is what we call as food sensitivities. Again, more and
Hmm.
more people are developing different sensitivities to food because of, again, like the GMO crops and a lot of different chemicals we are using. So again, food is also very different. So that's the very first reason, developing food sensitivities to different people, different foods. The second
Hmm.
reason is nutritional deficiencies. Now, your
Hmm.
thyroid needs several vitamins and minerals to make thyroid hormone. And what we are seeing is that more and more people are deficient into these vitamins and minerals. The
Hmm.
reason being, our food itself is low in these vitamins and minerals.
Mm. Yeah.
So there
Yeah.
was actually a research study done which compared the nutritious value of our food from 1980s to 2010. And what they noticed was that our crops, our vegetables, our fruits are much lower in nutritional content as compared to what it was before. So even though we might be eating more healthier diet, even though we might be eating all these veggies and fruits, but they themselves might be low in these vitamins and minerals. And that's the
Hmm.
reason our body doesn't get them enough. So that's the
Mm-hmm.
second reason a lot of people can get Hashimoto's. The
Mm-hmm.
third one that we discussed was stress, right? Like we discussed
Yeah.
that, any kind of stress that a body goes through, that can be a
Mm-hmm.
very major problem over there.
Mm-hmm.
The fourth one is toxins. Now, again, more and more toxins are being poured into our
Oh
environment.
my God. Yeah.
We already know about heavy metals, since time immemorial, we already know about how lead, mercury, arsenic, aluminium can be very, very harmful for our body. So that's one kind of, toxins. And the other one is mold toxins. Our houses
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
lived in sometimes can have mold toxins in them,
Oh yeah.
and that can certainly kind of cause Hashimoto's disease. And plus the environmental toxins, whether it's in the air, whether it is in the food with all the spraying, with all the organophosphates, whether it is a lot of chemical products that we use on our skin, especially females. Again, before they leave their house in the morning, at least more than 200 chemical products is what they use on their whole body. you
Wow.
know all that stuff is toxins that can again cause Hashimoto. So toxins again a very major role. And the last one is infections. These infections can be gut related parasites like blastocystis. This can be candida infection. This can be viral infections like Epstein-Barr virus, or even
Mm.
COVID-19 viral infections. Or
Yeah.
it can be other infections like blastocystis or Bartonella and Babesia. So all of these infections again can also lead to Hashimoto's disease. So
Mm.
this is kind of a big kind of categories, like of things, a lot of people might have been exposed to in their lifetime that
Yeah.
might have contributed to Hashimoto's. And again, as I said, it's kind of a little difficult, but again, through various questions and also kind of paying attention to our life, we might be able to find
Mm-hmm.
those root causes. So that's the very first step. The second step that we start fixing, is this fixing the thyroid, that we have been
Mm.
destroyed in the Hashimoto's and the hypothyroid phase. This is what we call
Right.
as rejuvenation of thyroid. And that mainly happens to this diet that we have developed, for especially for thyroid folks. And in this diet, basically what we do is that we kind of remove foods which are causing inflammation and destroying the thyroid gland. And we want to include foods which are healing or rejuvenating for the thyroid gland.
Mm.
So the
Like.
first category of food,
Yeah.
which people
Yeah.
should be avoiding,
Uh-huh.
are like gluten, dairy,
Okay.
soy, corn, sugars, processed food, processed meats. These are all the things we ask our people to remove them, because most of the research studies
Mm-hmm.
show that they can be inflammatory and can destroy the
Oh.
thyroid.
Okay.
And then comes the food which are healing. So in the healing aspect of the food, the very first food is what we call as non-starchy, colorful vegetables.
Mm.
So eat your veggies. Everybody here that eat your veggies. So definitely that's a very good advice. We all need those veggies, not only to lose weight, but actually the veggies are really good because all that colors that veggies comes with. Each and
Mm-hmm.
every color signifies a different antioxidant, different
Mm-hmm.
mineral that veggie comes with.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the reason I'm a very big proponent of eating a rainbow diet of different colorful
Oh,
vegetables so
okay.
that you can give
Uh-huh.
all the vitamins and minerals as much as possible. So veggies, like obviously have good fiber that feeds a good bacteria. Veggies have all the vitamins that our body needs, have antioxidant compounds, which is very
Mm-hmm.
important. So that's the reason, definitely that's the first thing, that at least half of your plate should be, good quality vegetables, non-starchy ones. Then
Mm-hmm.
comes a good quality protein. Like a lot of different amino acids, especially tyrosine, is needed by a thyroid gland to make thyroid hormone. And other amino
Okay.
acids are needed by our immune process to keep our immunity in good shape so
Mm.
that, we don't develop these autoimmune diseases like Hashimoto's. So good
Mm-hmm.
quality proteins, which can come from if you are eating meat products like chicken, fish, and turkeys, or
Mm-hmm.
if you're not like, a meat eater, if you're a vegan or a vegetarian, they can come from your lentils, your beans, your legumes, your nuts, your seeds, all those things can give you that protein. So
Mm-hmm.
good quality protein is very important.
Yeah.
Then comes the good quality fats. Again, in the
Mm-hmm.
last decade, we have bad mouthed fat so much that
Oh
everybody is
my
on a
God.
low
Yeah.
fat diet.
Yeah.
And what we forgot to tell people is that there is good fat and there is bad fat. So stay away from bad fat, but you need good fat, right? Each and every cell of our body has a covering around it which is made with fat. 60
Mm.
to 70% of our brain is fat, good fat.
Okay.
So if we
Uh-huh.
don't have good fat in our diet, then obviously our body doesn't function. So very
Yeah.
important to include good fat so that we can lower inflammation. This can come from good fatty fishes. This can come from coconut oil, olive oil, avocado oils. This can come from your great nuts and seeds like almonds, walnuts, pumpkin seeds, can
Mm.
come from chia seeds, flax seeds. So good places to get all of these good fats, which is very, very important for a body to function. And then last comes the gluten-free grains like brown rice or quinoa, whole grains, very, very important again. They have a lot of good nutritious value that can, again support our good health.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the kind of diet that we propagate in the second step for people to start healing their thyroid and kind of getting in good shape. And then obviously there are certain supplements that people can take that can support the thyroid and also help in rejuvenating it. So that's the second piece in the second step. And then the third step is about removing the toxicities. So
Mm.
toxicities are
Okay.
removing your stress. That's the first toxicity that we want everybody to remove. So going on a de-stressing routine, whether it's meditation, whether it is your deep breathing, whether it's going in the nature,
Mm.
any of those things is very important, because we
Mm-hmm.
need to break that cycle of stress, which
Right.
is kind of damaging our body. And
Yeah.
then, living a toxin-free lifestyle. Now, toxin-free lifestyle is a myth in the current situation, but at least reducing the amount of toxins that we have in our immediate environment is at least something we can all hope for, right? So looking at your cleaning agents, like using them which are less toxic, looking at your, like personal care skin products, like your
Mm.
soaps, your shampoos, all of those things, and again using them which
Mm-hmm.
are from more natural sources, right? So that's something at least people can start reducing the burden of toxins. And then also working on your immunity. In the immunity aspect, gut is very important. Most people think majority of our immune cells are running in our blood, those white blood cells. But 70% of our immunity is in our gut, not inside our body.
Ah, interesting. Okay.
So very important to work
Yeah.
on that gut health. And if we can fix that gut health, then we can fix our immunity. So this is kind of the three-step process that a lot of people
Uh-huh.
can benefit from and that we talk about. Obviously, these are a big overview about that process, and it
Yeah.
does involve a lot of details, in the book and also other places. But I think
Mm-hmm.
this is a good place for people to get understanding of what the process looks like and what they can do today to get better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh no, exactly. Exactly. So something that just came up in my mind is if someone is going through and a lot of these protocols that you've come up with and areas that you're looking at, um, is it something that they should do for their whole family while they're doing it for themselves? Sometimes it's easier to, you know, to make everybody following these things than it is just one person, and then somebody else eats something else, and then somebody else is eating something over here, and you know.
Absolutely. Like there is always interesting stories that, our clients share with us.
Uh-huh.
Because again, as I said, majority of our clients are these middle-aged females and they're all struggling with
Right.
weight. So as
Yeah.
soon as we start them on the protocol, especially with this diet, all of the family is doing the diet. And they will come back to see us, in a month time. They said, like, Dr. Gupta, I'm very angry. I was like, what happened? I'm doing this diet and my husband is also doing this diet. He has already lost 20 pounds in 1 month and I barely was able to lose 6 pounds on this diet. This is unfair. I was like, oh my God. I said, I know it is unfair. And so it happens all the time. So, absolutely, the whole family can do this kind of diet. Each and
Uh-huh.
every, everybody can be benefited from eating healthy, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So definitely
Yep.
you're not only improving your own life, your own health, but you're also doing, a benefit to your whole family whose
Mm-hmm.
life and whose health also improves by following this kind of diet and things.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. And your kids as well, because they get into this, and it's not like they end up being in their 20s or their 30s and they feel deprived because they've got to go on a good diet, right?
Hmm.
This way they learn, and they're just better. They're better off from an earlier age than most of us.
Exactly, it's a process. I always tell people when
Yeah.
they're working with us, I tell them it's a process. You cannot change everything altogether in just one day. So give yourself some time, right? So same thing with the kids. If you don't lay that foundation and suddenly when they are 18 or 20, they said, okay, don't eat this, don't eat that. You're just eating junk all the time. Well, you should have educated them at when they were young or early and then showed them all the good foods, right? And then
Right.
they will obviously then the foundation is good, then they will make better choices. But
Yeah.
just suddenly one day you stand up and they say that, everything that we have told you, forget about it. That was all wrong. And now, like this is new diet that we want you to follow. That's difficult for kids. So absolutely, the sooner you start, the earlier you start helping them with making better food
Mm-hmm.
choices that is going to stick with them for lifelong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. Um, and I also think that these days there's more information out in the ether or whatever, right, in the public, um, about good foods and not. Excuse me. And that, kids see that, you know, and I think the other side of it is, of course, is what their friends are doing.
Agreed
That
with that.
always,
There's so much
yeah,
peer pressure going around with them.
yeah,
So it's very difficult, I cannot even imagine like what the teenagers go through each and every day,
mm-hmm,
because all the things they have to deal with. So definitely they're stressed out. So, instead of just kind of fighting them, we have to become their friends. We have to understand what they're going through and how we can make, like better or help them to make better choices.
mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm,
internet is good, right? Because it does provide a lot of information, and obviously each and every teenager out there is on some kind of social media. So there are good things and there are bad things, right? So and sometimes it becomes also difficult for them to judge what is right and what is wrong. And we are in the age of information overload, right? Everybody's claiming that okay, their diet is the best, right? So people are confused. Oh, well, this doctor told me this is good, and the other doctor told me, this is bad, right? So what should I be eating, right? So that absolutely. And sometimes people are on so limited diets. When people come to see us, sometimes they said, well, Dr. Gupta, I've been told this is bad, that is bad, don't eat this, don't eat this. So I'm just eating these five foods. I was like,
oh
how
no,
can
and
you
that's not
survive
good.
on five foods, right?
Yeah.
Your body cannot survive on a very limited diet. Yes, for short amount of time, you can do the diet, but that is not a sustainable diet for lifelong. You cannot replace food with supplements or with vitamins and minerals, right?
Mhm.
That's not the goal. The goal is
Yeah.
obviously to heal you with these supplements for a short amount of time. But then for the long term basis, you have to eat food. So we cannot just ignore big kind of categories of food. Oh, well, fat is bad. Oh, well, carbohydrates are bad. Oh, well, proteins are bad
Mhm.
or this and bad. So we have to be kind of looking at things in a more gentler manner. Yes, few things which are really bad, we definitely have to remove them. But most of the other things which make sense, you need to include them in your diet. So your diet is kind of wide and you get all the nutrients as much as possible through food itself.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. So, how does it work, um, with getting people onto this better diet? Right? I mean, is it it's probably not okay. Today you're going to stop everything that you were doing, and now you're going to change it to this. I'm assuming that your protocol is a little easier for people to kind of move into. Um,
So
Tell
that
us a
actually
little bit about
depends on
that.
yeah, so that depends on person to person, right?
Okay.
Because there are several people, as I said, they come to see us, which their diet is like just with those five foods, right? So we
Yeah.
said, okay, like
Right.
expand your diet, you need to eat more.
Yeah.
And then there are people, who are just
Ah, you you froze.
their life is, right?
Okay. Okay. So go back a sentence and a half because you froze. I don't know. Yeah, it says my internet
Job of
connection's
kind of
unstable. I don't know if it's yours or mine. Huh.
I have no idea.
I don't
Can you
know.
hear me good?
I can now. Yeah. Yep. Yep. And see you. Okay.
So yeah, I was saying that, like the diet
Uh-huh.
depends on person to person. Like we have those people, who are eating very limited diets. We want to expand it. And
Mm-hmm.
then, we have people who are eating junk all the time, the fast
Mm-hmm.
food joints like McDonald's, KFC's, Burger King's. That's where they kind of hang around all the time.
Right.
So that's where, we have to understand where a person is and then help them to improve with better choices. So again, that's a process that I always tell people, because obviously everybody wants to get better tomorrow. And they said, okay, well, I can give up all those things today. I said, no, that doesn't work that way.
Mm-hmm.
So then, like the biggest evil is what we go after first. Like, so fast foods, processed food, processed
Okay.
meats are definitely the first thing that we go after and help people to remove those.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And the second thing is that we then help them to include more and more healthy foods. Most people are not eating the vegetables that, they should be eating. So then we help them to include more vegetables. I'm a big fan of morning smoothies, because
Mm.
that way I can pack a lot of nutrients that way and people don't feel the taste of them and they're happy with drinking that smoothie.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I always introduce my clients to the morning smoothie. So at least I know that at one meal, they're getting all the nutrients they need.
Okay. Okay.
So that's a good way to start with things. And then slowly and slowly, then we help give them up other things, like maybe give up gluten, maybe give up dairy, all that stuff comes later on. But I think definitely first cleaning up the diet is very important, and
Mm-hmm.
then start giving up things slowly and slowly.
Okay. Okay. No, that makes a lot of sense. Um, yeah. So you, I'm assuming since you're not worried about allergies so much with people, it's more a matter of saying, okay, here's the diet that we want to get to. This is kind of the goal, and so here's our steps to get there. It's not like, I have a lot of allergies. So when that all started, it was like, okay, stop eating everything. You can eat these 5 things for the next week. And then we're going to start adding things one at a time and see whether you keep it or you don't keep it. Um, so that was a whole other that was a lot of fun. Um,
And it depends on person to person, right? Different people
yeah.
have different food sensitivities. So that sometimes,
Yes.
it's very difficult to figure out. We do have some testing available for food sensitivities where people can order those
Oh,
tests,
really? Okay.
and that can also help them out. But these tests are not foolproof. They're not perfectly accurate. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously that sometimes, like these tests can give us some ideas about where things
Mm-hmm.
are. But what I've learned over the course of years is that, like testing is just one tool that help us to guide us in a direction, but that is not the only tool.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this
Mm-hmm.
is what we have relied on. Oh, if the test result shows something, then only I'm going to do this. If the test result doesn't
Mm-hmm.
show anything, doesn't matter. My clinical judgment doesn't matter, right? That's the way the modern medicine is. But no, what I've learned is that it's the testing plus my clinical experience plus what the person or the patient who is suffering is telling me about
Right.
what is going on with their body. It's a
Yeah.
happy marriage of all of those three that helps me to kind of make a protocol for that
Uh-huh.
particular person, taking into account for all of these three things.
Yeah. No, and that makes really good sense. Um, and just to follow on from my experience on the allergy side, when I've had allergy tests, nothing shows up.
Mm,
But when I eat the foods, I have a reaction. So, it's so individual.
exactly.
Yeah. And that's what people don't understand. And in this age of technology, well, but it didn't show up on the test. It's like, yeah, and but I can't breathe when I eat that. It's like, oh, okay. You know, so
Exactly. So that's
anyway,
the reason I
yeah,
learned. I said, it's very important to listen to what the person who is suffering
yes.
is telling me, right? You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yeah.
Just what is the test telling me is yes, that is important. But if that
Hmm.
doesn't go well or doesn't agree with what the patient history is telling me, then the
Yeah.
test might not be accurate,
Yeah.
right? So
Uh-huh.
yes, it happened with me also. I did a lot of testing and nothing showed up on the food sensitivity, but I know that dairy is my culprit. If I
Uh-huh.
eat dairy for 2 or 3 days, then I know that my symptoms start showing up or I feel worse. So I
Uh-huh.
don't care what the test results show. I know what my
Right.
body is telling me. So I'm going to stay away from dairy. That's the bottom line to it, right?
That's right.
So I don't have to rely on a test to tell me everything. Yes, it could
Hmm.
be useful if that shows something else, but
Hmm.
that is not an absolute necessity that we have to follow the test only.
Hmm. Yeah. 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 It's just another tool.
Hmm.
Yeah. No, I think that's great because it's a lot of doctors. Well, a lot of doctors just don't have the time. They work for these big conglomerates that, you know, and I belong to one of them. So uh, anyways, too expensive to do the other stuff. So, anyways, we won't go there. Okay. Well, is there anything else in, because we should probably kind of wrap up here and just kind of as an overall, let people know where they can get your book. And maybe that's a good starting point if they're really, if they're really feeling bad, then, where do they get in touch to to get you or someone like you to help them?
Absolutely. What I understood was that everybody learns things in a different fashion. Some people like to read, some people like to listen, some people would like to watch. So we share information in all different ways and platforms. So people who like to read, that's where my book is a very good start. The book has been written in a very kind of basic language so that people can
Mm-hmm.
understand what is going on with them. Even though it is backed with scientific research, and I have given more than 160 scientific research studies to back what I say in the book, but I
Uh-huh.
try to kind of break down that information in a more digestible fashion. So
Mm-hmm.
Reversing Hashimoto's is a book available on Amazon. Again, people who like to read, that's a very great place to start to understand what is going
Okay.
on, what you can do today. I have a
Okay.
very
Yeah.
great blog on my website called anshulguptamd.com. Again,
Okay.
we keep updating it with latest information for people who want to kind of read, or
Mm-hmm.
kind of follow that. I have
Mm-hmm.
a very active YouTube channel, which is called Anshul
Ah,
Gupta MD. Again,
okay.
share newest and latest kind of videos about it. Again, in bite-size information for people who want to
Uh-huh.
keep on, start making those changes. That is again a good place to start, with
Yeah.
information. Obviously, we are on Instagram with Anshul Gupta MD handle over there also. But I think
Okay.
a YouTube channel is all the best resource at this point of time who people want to listen or watch.
Okay. Great. Great. And I will get all of that information and make sure I put it in the show notes for everybody so they know where to find you and follow you. And with that, I will follow up with, and this is always so funny when I actually have a doctor sitting there, which is that neither of us are doctors, but that's not exactly true. Um, and this is not to be seen as medical advice because it can't be that individualized. And with that, I will say that I will see everybody next week as I go here and figure out how to stop the recording. Okay. And thank you again for being on the show.